In the previous theory of absolute cost advantage, we understood the basis for international trade. It was like, if a foreign country can supply us with a commodity cheaper than we ourselves can make it, better buy it off them with some part. Precisely, if we have two countries and two commodities, each country will make one commodity. After production, they will export the surplus production. But the decision for choosing the commodity will be based on lesser cost, which is an absolute advantage. My fellow friends, tell me one thing, what if China and Poland and they trade cell phone and television? What should Poland produce? Answer would be nothing, because China makes both at less cost. In this illustration, China will make mobile phones half of the cost as Poland incurs. For Poland, the cost of making spectacles is 67% higher than China. Means China makes both things cheaper. Then, how will trade take place? When only one country is having absolute advantage in both the production. To resolve this dilemma, in 1817, David Ricardo published what has since become known as the theory of comparative advantage, in his book On the Principles of Political Economy and Taxation. He asserted that even if one country is more efficient in the production of all goods than the other, both countries will still gain by trading with each other, as long as they have different relative efficiencies. He used an example involving England and Portugal. Ricardo noted Portugal could produce both wine and cloth with less labor than England. However, England was relatively better at producing cloth. Therefore, it made sense for England to export cloth and import wine from Portugal. Before moving on to the demonstration of the model, a few assumptions are to be drawn. First, trade will take place between two countries only. In the illustration, we are taking the United Kingdom and the United States. Second, only two commodities are traded in these two countries. The commodities are cloth and wine. Third, free trade exists between the countries, means there are no taxes on foreign trade. Neither any barrier to trade exists. In this illustration, labor in United States will make 40 bottles of wine in 1 hour, while labor in United Kingdom will make 20 bottles only. Here, the United States has an absolute advantage. Similarly, United States will make 40 yards of cloth in 1 hour, while labor in United Kingdom will make 10 yards only. Here again, the United States has an absolute advantage. And the problem is, for what commodity should UK take for production? The US can produce twice as much wine as the UK but 4 times as much cloth. Because the rate of substitution is higher for wine, that is 4 times. Therefore the US should specialize in producing cloth, while the UK specializes in producing wine. Extending his theory, the specialization for making a product will be a determining factor for lower opportunity cost. Let us understand how this is going to determine the flow of trade for the goods. Now, instead of United Kingdom, we have Canada, which is equally good at making autos as of United States. We can see that when the countries are not trading or specializing, the total world production is 80 autos and 120 bushels of wheat. But, as postulated in the theory, if they do the international trade, based on their comparative advantages, world production would increase to 120 autos and 160 bushels of wheat. This can be understood here, with the help of a graph. Here, one additional auto in the US will sacrifice half bushel of wheat. Likely, one additional auto in Canada will sacrifice 2 bushels of wheat. Means, the opportunity cost for wheat is higher, means the world trade will lose more for wheat than for autos. Therefore, we can determine that the US has a lower opportunity cost of auto production. Hence, it will be mutually beneficial for the US to produce autos and trade them to Canada for wheat. Once, we have decided that US should produce autos and Canada should produce wheat. Thereafter, if trade will take place and the US trades 60 autos for 60 bushels of wheat, then consumption will increase in each country. People in US can use 60 autos instead of 40, and 60 bushels of wheat instead of 40 bushels earlier. Very likely, Canada can use 60 autos instead of 40, and 100 bushels of wheat instead of 80 bushels earlier. Friends, there are many examples of comparative advantage in the real world, for example Saudi Arabia and oil, New Zealand and butter, USA and soybeans, Japan and cars, etc. All right then, let us move towards recapitalization of the learning we have made so far. First, even if one country has an absolute advantage in the production of all goods, it can still benefit from trade. Second, countries should import goods if the opportunity cost of importing is lower than the cost of producing them locally. Third, specialization according to comparative advantage results in a more efficient allocation of world resources. A larger quantity of outputs becomes available to the trading nations. Fourth, competitive advantage is distinct from comparative advantage because it has to do with distinguishing attributes which are not necessarily related to a lower opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, the cost of an opportunity foregone and the loss of the benefits that could be received from that opportunity, the most valuable foregone alternative. Comparative advantage, the ability of a party to produce a particular good or service at a lower marginal and opportunity cost over another. Competitive advantage, something that places a company or a person above the competition.